Okay, joining us today is Desta Barnabe, an experiencer of expanded states of consciousness.
Hi, Dee.
And Desta offers services of various modalities like quantum healing and Reiki and dowsing. And she works on humans, pets, and also your home.
Yes.
So, and among many other fascinating things about Desta. So welcome.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you. And I actually encountered Desta because I attended my very first local UFO meeting, and it happened to be on Zoom, and Desta was the guest speaker. And it's like everything she was saying, I was really resonating with. And then you know, while she was talking, I downloaded one of her books on Kindle, a book, Glimpse into Infinity. Do you want to hold it up so people can see it?
Sure.
I don't have the hard copy, but it's a really, really good book, and it's channeled messages. So Desta channels the higher dimensional beings, and the messages are so wonderful. And a lot of us are familiar with channeled beings, and these messages are right in line, and they're just really beautiful. So I actually first wanted you to tell us about that amazing experience you had in Crestone, where a group of you saw those lights in the sky.
Well, we were attending a conference. So Ricardo Gonzalez is a Peruvian experiencer, and so we were at like a conference for him. And he speaks during the day at the conference, and then at night we go to a piece of land that that the woman who runs it owns, and we kind of make a circle and do a C5 kind of, and you know, people have the big laser pointers and stuff, and they point out things in the sky and everything. And we didn't see anything that weekend, and he told us that, you know, the team he's in contact with was not going to be coming that night. And so we kind of like closed it up early, and we all went back to our place, and I was staying with you know, the woman who runs it and another couple people, and we just decided to. Crestone is a beautiful, Crestone, Colorado is an absolutely beautiful place in Colorado, just south of Denver. And
It's a hippie town.
Have you been there?
Yeah.
It's a huge hippie town, very insanely small. No one understands how small it is. There's probably 100 houses in the whole entire city, and it's 4 hours north in the middle of nowhere, but gorgeous setting. And yeah, so we went back and we decided we were just going to sit out on the balcony. We had like had an Airbnb, and the porch overlooked the mountains. And so we thought we're just going to go make some tea, sit on the patio, like the balcony thing, and talk. And so it was 3 of us, and it was like maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours worth of lights coming, and it would be like the way that I always wonder or can notice that it's not a satellite or a plane if you see a light in the sky is because for me, I always first notice that it's doing this like bobbing motion, like it's on the ocean or whatever. And so we had a couple of white lights, like, you know, bobbing in the hills, and we're like, wow, that's weird. I wonder if there's like, what could that be? It's so far away. It's like, is it a person with a flashlight? Is it a car going by? We're like, oh, it's so weird because it's bobbing, and then it goes back, and then it goes up, and it's like, oh, is there streets that go up in the mountain there? Like, look at how, because it was so dark, we couldn't tell how high the mountain looked because it's just pitch black, and you can't tell the distance because we're not from there. So it's just like, I thought the mountain was really far. It's really weird. And then there was like red lights, and they disappear, stop, stay stationary, go up, go down, do all these things, and we're like, yeah, it's really weird. But then after a while, so we were just watching them, and they would like come and then go, and we keep talking. And then there was times where they would shine like a white light and then the next day is the only time that I could really notice and go, well, that must have been something, because it was so far away, the mountain, and there was no at all where, you know, we tried to place it like where these two meet, the lights were about here, so when in the day you can see and see if there's any roads up there, and the roads were all at the bottom, but we didn't know that till the next day, or I didn't. They believed it the whole time. I didn't believe it the whole time, but they would shine these lights, these white, the brightest. And I had another experience before in 2012 where it was not the same kind of thing, but it was the same kind of the most brilliant white, shining, bright the brightest light you've ever seen in your whole entire life. And there would be times after we were watching them for about half an hour where it would just start shining this light. So it would be like white, and then it would get brighter and brighter. And we're like, oh my God, it's getting brighter. Oh my God, it's getting brighter. It would be and it would be lighting up. And it was like, you know, in kilometers, it had to be 30 kilometers away. I don't even know. That's a total guess. I can't. It was just so far away, the mountain. And it was shining this light that we could see the whole valley of the floor of, because we were up a story. And it was the brightest light. And then we really started saying like, oh my God, what is it doing? And we were like, wow, this is like something really, you know, special. And it kept doing that. So it shined that super bright light that just got brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter until it was like, what are they doing? What's happening? What's this bright light? And, but it was, yeah, fabulous and nice to have two people. And it went on for an hour and a half. And then we went to bed, and we had these floor to ceiling windows that we were looking out of, and my friend was facing those windows. I was facing the back windows. And then after we went to bed, she also said like, oh my God, I think I see, it's a different ship out there. And I'm like, no, it can't be. And I ran out there to the window, to her side of the window, and after all the lights, which was just lights, that I actually did see a silver sphere in the sky that I thought was a star. And I said, no, that's not it. That's just a star. I remember that star being around that mountain before or whatever. And she's like, no, it's a UFO. It's a spaceship. I'm like, nah, I don't think so. I think that's a star. And then in a blink of an eye, it changed from the star to an actual, just like off spherical shape. I don't know what kind of shape that is, but like a melted sphere or something shape. And I blinked like for a minute trying to look and say, oh my God, like it's not a star anymore. It literally in the blink of an eye changed from what I thought was a star to this silver melted spherical shape thing. And then, you know, for maybe 10 seconds or something. And then in a split second also changed back to what looked like a star or whatever. So we were like, wow, it's a great night to be able to see things with other people and, you know, unexplained things. But yeah, so I channeled about it just to see if I could get any information. And that is what my friend was saying, is that something about them being guardians of the mountain or something.
Yes.
And it was like Hope, I can't remember if it was the Hopi Indians, but it was like whatever the tribe that was closest to the Crestone area there used to see those things too, when they were maybe like lights in the mountain, called lights in the mountain or ground lights or something. But the Hopi or whatever it was said that it was that they were guardians of the mountain, and that's the message I got anyways.
Yes, and they also channeled to you that they were giving you some information that you would be processing and then utilizing at the right time, which is also very beautiful that you're receiving from them. And
that was the bright light. I guess that's what they were saying with the bright light, because we were thinking like, what are they doing? Why are they shining? It looked like it was a huge gigantic flashlight shined right in front of us, but it was so like it had to be a 10-minute drive to the foot of the mountain. So I don't even know if that would be 30 kilometers. Like it was so far, but it was so in like the whole basin of this area lit up from the lights being so bright. And that's what they meant when they said that they were like giving us something, like something in that shining white light is when they were, you know, giving us I can't remember if it was codes or, you know, they always say something that you don't really know what it means, but they were like putting something in us, and it was something, you know, information or whatever.
Yeah. So they left a message inside of each of you that will open when you are ready. I wrote it down. Love it, because it's like, you know, it's, you know, this leads me to this thing about you know, you had said that somebody had, now I forget who it was, but you had read, somebody said like that all of these different, you know, entities that we experience, and whether they're like paranormal or you know, coming from, you know, whether they are UFOs or whether they're mystical, you know, and you can probably even include like fairies and angels and all those things, that they're all actually, there's no division. They're all actually coming from this one same kind of intelligent force.
Well, I guess that's kind of one of the theories out there, right? And I guess we quote Jacques Vallée a lot that said, and I had a friend of mine, Steve Mera, help write something for me as well, and he's a paranormal investigator as well. It has been for a very, very long time, and I guess that's maybe their question, and John Keel as well. It's like the question is it one phenomena, whatever it is, like the phenomena, is it one thing that masks itself and shows up as different things that we interpret as being different things? And does that have to do with your belief system? So if you're a Christian, if you are, depending on what religious background you have, or whatever your belief system is, are you seeing angels because you were taught about angels? Are you seeing ETs because you want to connect with ETs? Right. Are you seeing your beloved grandmother that passed on because you miss her? Like it's what are you interpreting, or are they showing up based on your belief system as something that you want to see, or are you perceiving them not in their real form and only as, because you can't comprehend what they really look like? So are you interpreting their presence as an angel, or are they reading your mind, realizing that you believe in angels, so then taking on the form, their actual form, taking on an angel? And are they actually something different? So I guess that's the fascinating part, is like, is it all the same thing? Is it a reflection of your own consciousness? Is it actual beings that are coming? Are they coming from a different dimension? Are they coming from a different planet? Are they reflections of you? Are they your own hopes and dreams, and based on your filter and your belief system? That's the interesting part, I think, about this.
Yes, and also that you had said in there that it's less important what form it takes, is more important is the message, like the effect that it has on you, right? Because there's all these wonderful effects, and actually you had like you had said, this like miraculous and transformative after effects, right? Like increased psychic intuitive abilities and increased awareness and a whole bunch of things. And so it's like that almost like how, and they even said somewhere that maybe it was one of those guys that said that it's just a way to get you to expand, your interpretation of reality. So it's kind of like how you're affected is more important than, as you think you had said, nuts and bolts of, the details of, well, was it a UFO, or was it a fairy, or was it an angel, or was it and go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, and one of the things that I didn't mention that people wonder about too is it your own future self? Is it your future self that's coming back to you to wake yourself up, or put you on a different path, or make you remember, that there's more to this, reality than what we currently think, or whatever? So is it you time traveling back to yourself to wake yourself up, kind of thing, the future version of you? Yeah, yes. For sure.
Like Bashar, because I think Bashar's channeling himself, right? And because there's this whole thing about that you address as well, about that everything is happening within, that it even says like the planets, what does it say here? The portals, realms, dimensions, realities, worlds that we have access are inside of us. They're not somewhere out there. It's all happening in consciousness, right?
And that's the holographic universe kind of perception, is that, or theory, I guess, is that there is nothing out there, right? It's all just, the wave, it's the particles. Once we see it, once we collapse the wave function, everything turns into a particle. But before it does that, it's the wave. So it's, when you're not looking at it, it is just a wave. It hasn't defined the reality of its actual physical structure yet. It's just the wave form of what it's supposed to look like. So so absolutely. Is that what it is? Are you projecting? Are you taking what is out there? You're supposed to be interpreting it, and then you project out what the real reality is, and then your actual senses, your eyes, see it and put it back to your brain and say, I see a tree in front of me, or whatever. So definitely. So is there anything actually out there, or is everything that we're seeing inside of us, inside of our consciousness, or whatever? Because out there isn't really the out there physical, reality, whatever that we think it is. If it's a projection of our mind, then there is nothing actually out there. It is everything that's inside of here. And so, and I get lots of messages like that. And that's why they make it seem like the most important thing is going in. They always say, go inside, silence yourself, sit in quiet meditation. They're always saying that. And I think the point of that is because we are so fixated on the assumption that the reality that we see around us is physical matter, actually is 3D, and it's not. And so the more that you base your everything that you're doing, reality in general, on the fact that everything is, that this is real, you're missing the point. And the only way to get to the point is by going in, by meditating, because then you're actually in tune with what is actually happening, which is not the 3D world, because we are creating the 3D world. The 3D world is not reality, even though we think it is. It's like the opposite, you know, we're living in the opposite world or whatever. So you have to go inside and then, you know, get the answers from your, you know, your higher self or whatever you want to say, and explore things that are inside your consciousness instead of assuming that the 3D world is what reality is actually constructed of, because it's not.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. And a really good hint, you know, is, or analogy even, is our dreams when we're sleeping, right? Because it's like we're going to this whole world where all this stuff is happening, and yet where is it happening? It's happening in our consciousness, right? So it's a very good analogy to have. Maybe that's why we have dreams. Like,
well, it's funny that you said that. I was going to say that before we started this, is that I would tell you this story after, but I had a very crazy dream, like just 2 nights ago, actually, to the point where I actually when I woke up, I'll tell you the story quick. So I woke up, so I had the dream. I woke up and I thought, this is one of those ones that I can't turn on the light, grab a pen and paper and start writing it, because it's so complex or something, that by the time I start writing and then my eyes get adjusted to the light and then the dog starts barking or something, that I'm going to lose it. So I thought, I'll just grab my phone and I'll do a voice message and I'll tell myself what it is. So I'm like, it's in the dark still and I'm still thinking about it. And the funny thing is, I turned on my phone and it was 4:44 a.m. and in the top it was 44% battery. And then a friend of mine who was and my phone's always in airplane mode when I go to sleep, but because I had to turn the voice messages on, I had to turn the airplane mode off. And a friend of mine who normally walks with me, and we normally walk around 4, and she always has a typo. The message came in instantly that said, I'll come get you today. We'll be ready to walk today between 4 and 44. But she meant to say 4 and 4:30, but she just missed the O and typed 4, like I do that, you know, miss the O and type 4 instead of 3. So it said, I'll come get you. So it says like 4:44, 44% battery. I'll come get you between 4 and 44. And I was like, that's really weird. But I didn't even care, because I was I was trying to remember this dream. So after that strange thing, in one split second, you know, all these 4s appear on the phone. I voice messaged myself, but the thing behind the dream was, you know, again, it was one of those dreams where you wonder where you're going, and you wonder why some dreams that you have stand out like 1,000 times more than most dreams. I remember tons of my dreams. I used to keep tons of dream journals, and most of them are not very important, but sometimes, like a couple times a year, you know, you have a dream that it's like, oh my God, I was not dreaming. I don't know what happened. So this dream was, I was like in a place with a whole bunch of other people, 3 other people that I knew. So there was 4 of us and a bunch of other people, and it felt like we were underground. And I, you know, just like looked around. I had no idea what was happening or whatever. And it was all, I'll just say it was all like-minded people. And we were just standing around, and I was like, oh, this is weird. Like, where are we, or what's happening or whatever. And it was, I can't even remember exactly what happened, because it was all just, the point of the dream was that they said, you quantum tunneled to a reality. We are not underground. This is a different reality. And the way that dreams work is that when everyone goes to sleep, you basically bore like holes, which is the quantum tunneling, like a gopher hole, where the gophers will drill a little hole. So I'm drilling my little hole into a different dimension when I go to sleep. And normally I'm just there, and you just experience all these things in a different dimension, then come back and wake up. But they said like-minded people who are vibrating at the same frequency, who are consciously, when they're awake, thinking of the same things. So they have the vibration of, and in this case, it was trying to make the world a better place. They said, but then when I looked around, I saw there was a whole bunch of people there. So what they're kind of saying is that, so I drilled my little gopher hole into this reality, but since so many other people had the exact same vibration or frequency of the same idea, which was making the world a better place, all of our little tunnels underground opened up, and it was everyone with their little tiny gopher holes, and then everyone in the big, huge hole. But the hole was this other dimension. And they said this, and then they said that this is how, they said something about the Seth material. And I have a bunch of those books. I read a couple chapters when I was like 18, say 30, 30 years ago, I read a couple chapters. So I don't remember, I was just like the Seth material. And they said, and it was kind of just like, this is what the Seth material said. It had something to do with dreaming. And the only thing I can remember about the Seth material, which might have been the only chapter I read, is that Seth apparently, or I think, and I haven't even researched this, so I don't even know if I should be saying this, but this is what the whole dream thing was.
Yeah.
Is that Seth used to say, I think, that babies slept a lot because when you sleep, you go to a dream and into a space that is a different dimension, and you practice everything that you're about to do. So babies have to practice talking, they have to practice walking, they have to practice what gravity feels like and who their parents are, and like, you know, how to, I don't know, eat, and you know, everything, because they're brand new, born, they don't know anything about this world. So it was something like you do go into it. This is what Seth, I think, said. I'm not even sure about this, but this is my memory. This is kind of what the dream was saying, is that, so for people to be like-minded people, all thinking that what 2020 is crazy, we need to be meditating more and try to help each other, and, you know, come together more as a community and try and, you know, make this world a better place. So all the people that are doing that right now, think about it during the day, but also when you go to sleep, you all go to this dimension, this alternate like reality, this other dimension where everyone is together and is still thinking of the same thing, still thinking of making the place, you know, the world a better place. And then everyone is creating to actually manifest the reality into their real life. And because there's so many people doing that right now because of what's happened this year, is that this is the shift. Well, this is my dream. This is the shift, is that we have just shifted over. And there are so many people, and there's like millions of people that are doing this. No one's consciously aware that they're doing it in their sleep. But of course, that's how, you know, we know that's how dreams, you know, work a lot of the time, is that you dream something that you were thinking all day. So they were saying that this is what happens. And they said that also, so it doesn't matter what kind of stuff you're thinking. If a whole bunch of people are having super bad thoughts and on the same vibration, they're quantum tunneling into their own place where there's other like-minded people doing that, and they're creating their reality, but they're creating it by being in this parallel dimension first, and then waking up. And the more people that keep quantum tunneling into this thing, so, you know, unconsciously in their dreams, they're going to be changing the world. And it was, yeah. So anyway, so you just happened to bring up dreams. So it's like that, maybe that is where we go when we dream. I don't know, but I was so sure that it was 1,000,000% accurate that I was like super excited to like tell myself on this voice message, you know, exactly, so I wouldn't forget, because and that's all I've been thinking about for the last 2 days now. It really feels like that makes sense. And I haven't even checked into the Seth material to see if that is something that he said, but that's, you know, that's what I got in the dream anyway. So
Yeah. Well, it makes so much sense. And like while you were describing all that, it was just a kundalini, it was just going through my body, right? Just like, yes. I mean, it really does make so much sense, you know? And one of the things I did want to talk to you about is a lot of these channeled messages are talking about the mission of the light workers, right? And it's like there's, so it's like, it feels like this book is written for the light workers in so many different senses, you know, because you talk about the different, or the channeled messengers, you know, talk about the mission of raising the vibration and helping others remember who they are, and you know, bringing balance and harmony. And the thing that you know, that you've been channeling and others are channeling and well, is like to just be you, to be align with your personal you know, light and vibration in that, and just by being present in that state, that actually helps others, right? You know, like a person will enter a room or a space and right away increase the vibration of everybody else without even speaking, just with their beingness, right? And that seems to be one of the things that the light workers do.
absolutely. And maybe this is happens with everybody, but they do. I don't ever use the word light worker like ever in my real life.
Maybe not.
Oh no, the messages they do. So yes, I get tons of messages that use those workers, but in my own life, I don't really ever say that. So but they say that, and it makes a lot of sense to me. So I don't know if this is only for light workers, meaning, you know, people in general that are here to try and raise the vibe kind of thing. But yeah, they say that a lot, especially about traveling, because I travel a lot and I like to travel a lot. And I feel usually, or I guess like I assume, as probably most people do, that if you are attracted to a place, so you think, oh, I want to go to Greece, or I want to go to Miami or something, you assume okay, so I assume that I want to go there because I, you know, because there's the beach, or, you know, all the things that I like about the place. I want to, you know, experience this. They have this, you know, waterfall, or, you know, you think that you're being pulled because of things that seem attractive to things that you're interested in. But what they say to me, and many times say is like, you think you're being pulled there because you're attracted to certain things in the area, but you're not. You're supposed to be there. And so it's like, and not we as in they, we as in me,
Right.
I have set this up. So we all set this up, that I know the specific time when I'm supposed to be traveling to some certain area, because that certain area needs, you know, and again, this is like, it makes sense in the messages, but I don't normally talk like this, but this is the theory is, we all carry a certain vibration, everyone, right? And if you're called because more people of that vibration need to be in a certain area, like, you know, and this is just the messages, but this is what they say. So they're saying like, you're pulled to the area, but you think you're pulled there because there's something that you want to see in the area. But they always say it's not, because you think you're attracted to the area and that's why you're going. You're not. You're going because you need to be there right now, because the area needs something of you left behind after you've gone to the area. So you think you're just traveling to all these places because they're beautiful, because they're attracted to you, but they're attracted to you because they're supposed to be, because they're pulling you to go, because you're supposed to go. So it's you know, it's like, this is how you set things up before you come, like your soul contract or whatever. Before you come to this life, you know, you have to go to these places to, you know, share your energy, or to ground some, and, you know, light into the ground, or however you want to interpret all that. But they say, you set it up that it's an attractive place to you before you're even born, to make sure you're pulled there, because you're pulled there because you need to go there, because it has to do with your frequency and the frequency of the area, or the people, or the land, or whatever. And so you need to pass through the area because something stays of you. Like all of us, you go through anywhere, stuff of us stays. That's why, you know, we have, you know, auric fields, and that's why stuff gets attached to our aura, and we leave stuff off of our aura. So it's like the vibration is needed, and you feel called to go. But feeling called to go just means you want to go. You want to go because you want to go experience that place. But it's really because it's a calling that you've set up with yourself, because that place needs you, you know. A different interpretation.
Yeah, that is a different interpretation. So there's a deeper meaning, you know, when we think, oh, I just want to go over there because it's so lovely there, and then it's like, you need it there.
Exactly. And maybe also you're not attracted to areas that don't seem very nice to you, but it certainly doesn't mean you're never in areas that aren't nice, right? I mean,
Right.
I would be choosing to be living in a far I don't want to say anything negative about Winnipeg, but it's like I definitely don't choose to be here. So whether I'm actually needed here, and that's why it's so difficult, and we were talking about that about Winnipeg, it's difficult to get out. So however that works, I don't know, but it seems like, you know, even if you end up in a bad place, you're supposed to be in the bad place for whatever, or not bad place, but, you know, like a place that if something bad happens to you, you get all your stuff stolen, or it's, I don't know what can happen, but you get pulled to these places. So whether it's, you know, you think you're just ending up there by accident, by circumstance, or you're being pulled because you like it, it's all supposed to be because you're supposed to be passing through there for that reason, is because that place needs your energy, or someone else is going to walk through right after you and they need your energy. So even if you don't meet up with that person, I think that I have some message about that. And I think it was about Miami, is that, you know, you meet. And that's another reason why people are called together with certain people, because you're with certain groups of people, and then a different, you know, energy or frequency or something of the group is left behind. So
Yeah.
and that was what we were talking about for Mount Shasta, is that, you know, these people are the proper people are going to show up, whoever it is, because those people specifically are needed to ground some kind of energy into the ground, because, you know, for whatever reasons it is, but you know, it's supposed to be to help the planet or help the people, or leave a frequency in the ground, so when other people come, they can also, you know, benefit from the frequency that's left behind.
Yeah. Actually, I want to go and live in Mount Shasta. We're really being drawn there, although I've never been there. But now, what you're, so much of this writing is so poetic. And, speaking of together, I just wrote down 3 things about that. It's so poetic, like joining with others is where the magic begins, magic happens. Symphony of souls, all vibrating with love, create an energetic pattern. And I guess any group creates an energetic pattern, but this creates a very specific kind of uplifting. And together we will accomplish something unexplainable and unimaginable.
And I guess that's maybe it, right? Because you don't know, and I don't have the like those words come, but I have no, so I know the feeling of what the words mean when I get them, but it's still so unimaginable. Like that's literally what I was just going to say, because you don't know what it's doing. We don't understand like that, how the energetics of anything that happens with us. We guess that you can do hands-on healing and you're going to pass some kind of divine, love from the universe or from source through you into the person. Like that's like the theory behind Reiki. So we kind of like can make very I don't know what the word is, but like rough basic assumptions of what energetic things, healing modalities or whatever do, but we don't really know what it is. So people join together at certain places at certain times and leave something. We don't know what that's really going to do. I don't think anyone can really imagine what it is. So I think that's why they use those words, is because it's like, we don't even know. And we have no idea. It's something big and we can make a couple guesses.
Yeah.
Going to help the animals, going to help the, clear the water, leave something. So the next people that are depressed and go there, leave, and then all their depression go, like, I don't know, it could be a trillion things. And I guess that's the point, is we have no idea what this kind of stuff is doing. Just humans moving around and being in certain vibrations, and what that leaves for other people once they come in the path of that, where, wherever other people were.
Yeah. Yeah. And also there's this thing that I don't have where it was, but that the 3D realm is, is quite limited, and it's based on a collective understanding about beliefs, and that there's so much more out there, right? And there's these portals that we can go through, to access these alternate realities. And so there's all these different ways, like as you were saying about meditation, that one of the things they say is so important to be quiet, to just be quiet and to meditate. But then there are the sacred medicines, right? And the intention is so important. So if someone would say, like, I want to expand, into these other realities, like how do I do it? And sometimes it happens spontaneously, right? Like all of a sudden you're just out enjoying nature, and all of a sudden, bang, you are, you look at a beautiful sunset, or you even look on a certain leaf on a tree or something, and it'll just do it to you, right? So it's, is it a matter of just being open to it and intending, would you say? Or?
Well, it's funny that you brought that up, and I don't have it. I don't even know if I told you about this, but I just had it, but I think it's in the other room. But I just co-authored a book with Grant Cameron, who I was telling you about when we had coffee, and the book is actually called Contact Modalities. We just wrote it, and my mom just bought me a copy because I haven't been able to get an author copy of it, and so this is the first time I've seen it. And I just went for coffee with him and gave him a copy, but I still left it in the other room. So it's a book called Contact Modalities, and that's exactly what the book is about. So the first part of the book is all of the, like a lot of people that don't really believe in the paranormal or new agey or, channeling or tarot cards and, ayahuasca ceremonies and like, psychedelics and all this stuff. A lot of people that don't really get or believe the experiences that come out of these trance-like states that come out of various modalities. And we're calling them contact modalities because it's contact with the other side. Right. So the book is, the first half is, I'll send you it, because we actually have the first 100 pages for free actually online, and then the link to the book. But so the first bit of it is like all of the actual MRI studies and scientific studies and scientific papers that were written based on things like people that were channeled, like Bashar in meditative states, and they put like, or yogis or monks or something that start meditating, they actually hook them up to EEGs or do MRIs or all these different kind of things, measure different specific parts of their brain, and which parts, if you're a meditator who's been meditating for 20 years, which parts of your brain are different than other people. So it's like very scientific, all the scientific studies kind of. And then the second half of the book is what the contact modalities are. So Grant keeps saying it's 70 plus. I honestly should
Wow.
count it, but I can't. I don't know. So say it's 70 plus. Yeah. But these are just things exactly like you're saying. So these are things like, so we just list them and give a very brief background of them, of things that we think are considered contact modalities. So be in contact with the other side. So whether it's the spirit side, the ET side, a different interdimensional side, whatever it is. And that's why we're saying that all these places where you can achieve some kind of trance-like state. So whether it's through drumming or dancing, of course, there's many religions that use that kind of drumming and dancing or whatever, people like reaching these altered states of consciousness, and or it could be meditating or doing tarot cards or mediums or channelers or people that are doing C5s that are trying to like call in the ETs or whatever. There's so many different modalities that you can use that all basically use the same focus and intent, like you're saying, but the base of them all kind of is some kind of meditation. It's usually down to calming your brain. It can be a spontaneous event, like you're saying. You could just be out in nature, but one would still could argue that if you're out in a state of nature and being in the moment, like being, like keeping yourself in the moment, that does bring you to the meditative state. So, yeah. And I used to think it all had to do with being in a theta brainwave state. Right. So we don't really know what it is, but whatever it is once you get to that state, you have some kind of access where you can, speak to your deceased relatives or channel messages from things that say that they're, from a different dimension, or you can be divinely inspired. You can be getting downloads of information. You can be dowsing and getting proper information that you could be giving to your friends. You could be reading tarot cards, divining the future kind of thing. You could be, any of these states will bring you into some kind of state where you have contact. So whether you're in touch with the Akashic records and you can pull information, or you can bring the ETs and the UFO down to your group if you're doing a C5. And that's why we're also trying to put in there that we don't know if what it is, the phenomena is, and if it's a mass, that with all these different contact modalities, if you're doing psychedelics, why do people go and see machine elves? Why do so many people that are doing the exact same kind of psychedelic all around the world that don't even speak the same language, how are they all thinking that they're in the same space and seeing the same being that looks the same, that's saying the same thing to them? So it's like, is that a different place? Are you actually in a different place? Are you actually, underground? The machine elves, McKenna always thought he was underground. Are you underground, and is it a machine elf, or is the psychedelic making you feel, and that's why everyone is feeling that they're in this enclosed space? But why is everyone getting the same message from the same kind of being? So is it the being, or is it the psychedelic that then brings the mask or the outerwear, like the way they look? Are they manifesting as a machine elf because the psychedelic makes them manifest as a machine elf, or are you actually going to a certain spot? Or is this just another mask that the phenomena is wearing? And when you're in psychedelics, you're not seeing, a lot of people see ETs, but a lot of people when they're taking psychedelics are seeing machine elves. So what's the reason behind that, and what does that say about the phenomena, where it's coming from and what it actually is? Is it a machine elf, or is it the same thing that you're the same thing that you're channeling, or the same thing that's coming through when you're using the Ouija board? Like, is it the same thing or not? So, who knows? But that book that we just put out, is trying to give people a good understanding of how easy it is to be, and how many ways that they could be getting into that trance or like altered state of consciousness, and what the studies are backing it up, supporting it, trying to show that something is definitely happening in our brains. Physiological brains are actually changing the way that they're being structured if you're practicing any of this kind of stuff.
Yeah. And also children, before they're told it's not real, it's your imagination, brush it off, get to real here. So they're it's being, hushed off or whatever, because children are in that state, right? Like they are naturally in that state that's open-minded, playful, not doubting anything, because I think maybe that's one of the things that happens with adults. Oh, that can't be you know, whatever you so, you know, I see that, no, it can't be that. It's just my imagination. It's just the way the light's reflecting or whatever. So right away it's dismissed, right? So it's
Mhm.
uh, amazing that it's so real in children, and in so many children, healthy children, you know, healthy
Absolutely.
children, right? Well, I guess it can also be traumatized children, but it's that having that certain mind. But oh, I can't wait to read that book, because all the different ways we can do it. And there's so many, I mean, there's hundreds of ways to meditate too, you know, like there isn't one book of meditation or one way to meditate, you know, meditating itself. I love the moving meditation, you know, where I move like a dancing kind of meditation, where I just let the body do whatever. But then and there's just so many ways, walking, you know,
Absolutely. We have that, yeah, for
yeah, that's
sure.
so that book is
And fasting, it's like fasting, isolation, like chambers or tanks or whatever. Like there's like something called the Tibetan dark room,
yeah,
where people, you know, that where people like go for a week or two or 10
and
in a
pure
room,
black. Yeah.
pure black, never allowed out, and you just are there in the pitch black for extended periods of time. And the traditional ones, they're just slipping you. Well, to the real traditional ones, all you get is water, and you only get a couple sips of water a day. So it's the DMT in your brain that's being slowly turned on, because it can't tell, because your cycle, your melatonin cycle isn't coming in to say, you know, it's light out, it's time to wake up, and then it's dark, now it's time to sleep. So your cycles are so screwed up because you're in constant darkness. The DMT comes on, and so if you're hallucinating or starting to see things in the room, people have very dramatic experiences from isolation in general. If you're going to a float tank or thing, maybe you're only there for 60 or 90 minutes or whatever, but these Tibetan dark rooms, the practice is for, you know, 10 days to months, where
Yeah.
if they do get fed, it's a very small amount of food, and you never are allowed, like you're not supposed to go out, because you're just with yourself and your thoughts in pitch blackness, and you see how colors start coming, and all these different things are appearing to these people having the experiences. And it's huge, you know, life-changing experiences that come out of all of these different things. It doesn't matter what it is, right? And that's the thing, the exploration, I think, of consciousness in general, whatever kind of modality you want to choose to be doing that, is something that's going to be, you know, we're wondering, and we're trying to figure out what exactly is happening. And the more that you try to experiment by doing different things like these contact modalities, are trying to figure out, you know, we're trying to get answers of what exactly the basis of reality is, what exactly is happening, what is the phenomena, what, you know, why are we here, you know, all these big picture questions or whatever. It's yeah, so I think that the book is really interesting, because it's trying to lay out and give people like basic steps of like what kind of things you can look into. So, and some people are more, you know, interested in different areas, but there's so many different ways to get to these states. And I think people think it's very difficult, and they think that only some special people are able to do it, or people that have, like, you know, you have to pay a ton of money for a course or something. But there's many, many, many different things that people can do and have been doing for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years that
Yes.
are achieving these states.
Yes, yes. Oh, that's wonderful. And then there's also the thing about uh, that we are always surrounded by these higher dimensional light beings, right? It's a matter of tuning into them. I like the term Daniel Scranton, one of the channelers who lives in Hawaii. He calls them your mighty entourage. I love that term. You know.
Yeah.
Entourage, you know, and so like it's like that they're always there, and they're always with us, right? And we just have to call out to them, and they're there instantly, because they're always there.
They do always say that to me. They always say that they're literally like, because there are a lot of them, not every single thing we're talking about, but say if it's like, you know, things that are in different dimensions or whatever, they're always saying that they're not just like right beside us, as in, oh, we're all around you. They're literally all around you, because the next dimension, you know how they say, is like, I can't remember who it was that said it was like the size of your nose. So like each dimension goes the size of your nose or something. So it's like, you know, I can't remember who it was, but someone uses the thing like this, like they're passing their hand, and it's just like, I'm passing through many, many, many dimensions now, because they're all so packed together, that think of all the beings that are in each of these dimensions. And if they're packed so tightly every couple of inches, then when we're walking through our house, we're walking through so many different dimensions. How could you think that if there's an infinite amount of these, or 12 or whatever you want to say, you know, however many dimensions there is. If you're walking through multiple dimensions, there has to be beings in each one of them. So they're literally right beside us because they're living their own lives kind of in right actually beside us. But yeah, they also always do say, you just need to call, you just need to ask for help, because they're not here to be trying to force us to be doing anything or guiding our lives without us asking for assistance, I guess, first. So, so they always say that. All you have to do is ask. It's like prayer in the old days. People thought they had to pray too, but it's the same kind of thing. You don't have to be, you know, believe in any specific religion. You just have to know that they're there, and they can't just come and start helping for, you know, because they feel bad for you. They don't know if that's part of your journey, and you need to be learning those lessons. So you need to be calling out and asking for assistance, and they say that that's all they need to come and help.
Yeah, well, that's so respectful, and it's also a way for us to live as far as giving advice to people. It's like we should never give advice unless someone asks us, right, or state our opinion. Right? It's that there's just something about that. Just seems to be some kind of universal law about you know, giving when someone, you know, someone has to ask first, because then, like, asking for advice or whatever. But the same thing with these beings. And also another thing that you've channeled is, you know, them saying quite a few times that we are you, you know. So it's like, well, the reason they're always here is because they're you, you know, they're part of us, right? And this whole goes into this whole thing about the multidimensionality, that we're multidimensional. Do you want to talk about that, about how there's a whole bunch of us all over the place? You know, that the multidimensional aspect of us. Did we cut out? Oh, I think we got we're frozen. Frozen. Were you able to hear me? Because your screen is frozen. Okay, we're back. We just had a bit of a techie thing, and we're back, going strong. So we were talking about our multidimensionality and how we actually are experiencing more than one thing at once. And I believe it's where we're putting our focus is where we are. Or do you want to address that? And also the whole thing about that everybody is actually a version of us, and that there was some channelings that were talking about how we actually created everybody that's in our reality, and that they're all part of us. And I'll let you take it away on that.
So okay, I'll do the first one. So it's very, I mean, I can even say something that I believe or something that I've heard before, and it's one of how Bashar explains it. So that's actually a shorter version of explaining it, but it's different than mine. But the way and this is also about, actually, this isn't even Bashar. This is, okay, so an easy way that I thought that I used to look at it was that, say you have a gigantic book with like a million pages. So each of those pages is supposed to be a different dimension. And so if one dimension stops or closes or ends for some reason, then or what I used to hear is the theory is that you just drop to the very next closest dimension, because that's obviously what happens, right? Like you just drop to the next level. So if you're on page 100 of that's your dimension is 100, and then it leaves. So say that, I used to be watching things about CERN making a black hole, and then it eats up the whole entire world or whatever. And does everyone actually die? No, they're saying everyone drops to the one dimension below that. So you're in a different dimension. It's a little bit different. That's part of the explanation, what they used to say in 2016 when I was really researching this about the Mandela effect. Right. Well, why do some people have the Mandela effect? Because we're in a different dimension, because we used to be on a different one. We remember things a little bit differently. The dimensions are so close together that they're very, 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 very similar, but we notice some changes. So CERN, like, who knows, but CERN created the black hole. It ate us up. We dropped down to one dimension. We're still alive. We still think it's the same. It's almost the same, but there's a handful of very strange things that are not the same. So, and how Bashar would say that how we move through dimensions is like having a book where you're flipping through a million pages at once. Each page is like a snapshot of time. A snapshot being, it's not a moving like a video. It's like a screen image. So like each decision you make, should I leave my house in 5 minutes or in 20 minutes? And there's an accident, say, that you just end up missing the accident because you left 20 minutes later. So the two different roads that you could take, whether you leave now or leave in 20 minutes, is you flipping through the pages of two different potential, because of course it's all potentiality, right? So any dimension you choose to be in, or wherever your focus is what dimension you're in, and you can be in any dimension you want based on what choices you're making. But to make any choice, you're flipping through the book, like you're flipping through all the different pages. Should I do this? Should I do this? You're moving through dimensions based on your choices, basically. Right. So that's how I used to look at it. So the way that you can consciously create a new world for yourself is you just need to flip to the page where you are all the Desta that's living in her better life is already in that reality. And I want to be in that reality. So I focus, because it's all focus and intention. And I then switch to the page of the book of all the different realities. And I want to pick the page 1000 where Desta is living a better life. So you just switch your focus to creating your own reality where the dimension that you want to be is. So that's how I thought about, or that's how I kind of like understood it working for the last 5 years. I had, and that still makes a lot of sense to me, but the way that they kind of explain it to me is more complicated, but the very short form of the story is like, they kind of showed this analogy to every person. So you and me have these like cords that are like an infinite length of cord. And in this cord, every single solitary like millimeter of the cord is a different place that you are of a being that you've been at some point since you've been a conscious being. So this infinite cord that you are, it's the you here on earth right now. It's the parallel version of you in a different dimension. It's the past life that you've had on earth. It's past lives that you had in other places. It's past lives that you've had when you're not a human. It's the cord is like the extension of your consciousness that starts at source and is an infinite long cord, and it's just tracking the consciousness of you or me. So the Desta cord is all of my parallel lives, my future, my past, my lives as humans, my lives on earth, my lives in other places, and my lives as rocks or anything. It's every single time you've ever been conscious. So it's just, but it's a cord tied to source, which they make very, very important, that how we're all connected to source. And that's why we all have a source connection. That's why we're all one, because we're all part of source. And through source comes these cords, which is the cords where source has decided, when source decided to split off into a billion trillion bits of consciousness to experience different realities, to have different experiences. So we are all these little tiny bits of consciousness that are parts of source, that are tied back to source by this thread or cord, which is how we link together and why we can go up and down our own specific cord to past, future, present, and of course, because everything's supposed to be happening now, everything's already happened, right? We are in the now, but now everything's happened. So we're just moving along the cord as like Desta in 2020 as a human is just moving up and down the cord. And I can access a past life of Desta because I am on the cord of Desta, because I am Desta, but I can also go through any time that I've ever had myself, because it's the conscious connection to source, and it's just my consciousness moving along this cord, being in different realities. So the multidimensional aspect is, it doesn't matter what dimension you're in, because time obviously is not linear, and we have a confine of what we interpret time and space being, because we're in this 3D reality, but we're not always in this 3D reality. So as we move through these different dimensions, different timelines, different past and present and future lives, different existences, we're all tied together. So I'm tied to all my other bits of Desta, and of course I'm not Desta in half of them, but I'm also tied to all your bits, because we're both part of the same source, which just broke into a billion bits to decide to have different realities. And so you're part of me and I'm part of you, because we're both parts of source, and we're both just two different parts that are bringing back information to source, explaining and having totally different realities and different experiences. And the way that source is able to, you know, have experience everything, because it split itself into a zillion bits, and now those zillion bits are all having different experiences. And then through the cord, bringing the experiences and information back into source. And so it just is moving around all these chords itself, and can have any experience it wants as it's, you know, interpreting what each of these bits of consciousness are experiencing at any present time, any time that it wants to, you know, to try and figure out, you know, what each of us is experiencing. It's kind of hard to explain. Yeah. That's like the general idea that I got anyways.
Yeah. Well, source just wants to experience, man.
Exactly. And that's, sorry.
When that description was given in the book, then I think it ended with, and you are source.
Yeah, exactly. Because it makes it seem like it's so complicated, but it's not complicated, because it's so simple. That is the simplicity behind all of these messages, all of them, is that we are all one. And it's like a million different messages trying to come up with the words that will resonate with different people, that will be the thing that clicks with different people, that will make them, you know, understand their own whatever questions they could potentially have. And it's just different explanations of the exact same thing. We're all one. How are we all one? It's just like a million different ways to say that we're all one, because of these, you know, different aspects, depending on what people believe in and what people are interested in. People connect just like any of us. You know, we like different people in this field or in other fields, or different music, because we connect, we resonate with certain things. And so they kind of say that they have to leave all these messages, because different ones will resonate with different people and will make sense or whatever. And then that might be one little bit of that person that'll go, oh, that makes sense. And then, you know, help them look into something else, or read a different book or whatever. So,
just like, little nuances, like some people can resonate with you're a part of God, but then don't like you are God, right? And so it's like different people interpret things in different ways, right? Because there's a big difference between being a part of something and being that thing, right? And so it's how people, what feels right for people, you know, and some people are indoctrinated into it's blasphemy, you know, to say that and that kind of thing. So yeah.
Totally. Yeah. And even exactly that concept. I mean, I was not really raised in any religious way. And so when I used to hear the word angels, like, I mean, it's for me personally, I never resonated with angels, and I thought that angels were like a biblical thing, and I never knew anything about the Bible and wasn't really raised like that. So every time someone would say they're talking to angels, or if I ever read some channel material where they were saying Archangel Michael says this, Archangel whoever says this, I just thought, I don't believe that. Like, I don't believe that, so I wouldn't buy that book because it doesn't resonate with me. And strangely, one of the very, very first messages I ever got before I was even typing or writing them was from an angel. And I thought, this has to be either, I would never make that up. And this is the very, very first days where I never even thought, I didn't have any idea what I was doing. And one of them said it was Archangel Gabriel, which is really weird because that's my dad's middle name. So my dad was raised French Catholic. Like, my parents were both raised Catholic, but I really wasn't. And so I thought angels like a pretty little, like, you know, it was like nice to draw them, or like they look nice, but I didn't really think angels were real. But yeah, strangely, that was one of the first messages I got. And that's why I thought, like, I don't know if, and again, who knows if that was the phenomena trying to validate or somehow prove that I was talking to something, because I didn't believe it. So I just thought I would never tell myself I was talking to an angel, because I don't believe in that kind of angel, because I was not raised that way. So yeah, I've always wondered about that. And once in a while I've had a couple of things where they say things about angels, and I just thought, what? I wouldn't believe someone else who was saying that. So it's so weird that they're saying that. So I don't know if they're trying to make me believe, or if it's just trying to show how how multidimensional this whole field is. It's like anything could be possible. It's all tied together. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I'm anywhere closer knowing anything than anyone else, definitely. And but that's one of my big things, is always the angel thing, because I never really believed it when someone was saying they're talking to angels.
That's so funny. And you know, Nassim Haramein says that the angels are the ETs, right? And that's just how they interpreted them in the Bible, you know, coming from the heavens and all that, you know, and that makes so much sense, you know. That
absolutely, yeah.
It all goes back to that thing that it's all one thing anyway, right? It's a mystical phenomena, right?
Exactly. That people were interpreting it because at that time they had such a limited, limited knowledge. They didn't know as much as we would know today, where we could like parse it into a million different things. But back then they wouldn't have known. So yeah. And I love that those super old, I think like 1300s, the paintings and stuff that had like UFOs in the background, or, you know, yeah, the halos that they're maybe interpreting now, the halo. They were saying, putting like the not description, but the like symbol of a halo around, you know, whoever's head, but maybe it wasn't a halo. It was because they were shining, and the painters didn't know how to make a shining being. So they put this halo, and then that was just like the symbol of the being shining. And if it was the shining, was it the shining ones or the watchers or the angels or the ETs, or, you know, again, it's just like a big, based on everyone's interpretation, what it actually is.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, we won't know, like, I mean, you know, as far as, you know, history and books and everything and all that, we don't really know, you know, like these accounts, like their interpretations, everything, you know, but so it's kind of like, it's so true about the present moment is the only thing that's real, really happening in there. And maybe there's no such thing as something that doesn't exist, right? It's like, even if somebody imagines something, it exists in their imagination. So imagination is something that is huge, right? It's probably where everything is happening. It's where we're like, in one of the channelings was saying, it was interpreting the, it's the imagination that interprets the phenomena that the person is experiencing, right? Using their own experience or what they know, right? And when you were saying that about interpreting the phenomena, it's the same thing with near-death experiences, you know, because, you know, Ken Wilber was saying, like, people that die and have the near-death experiences, a Christian will see Jesus and a Buddhist might see Buddha, or something that related to, you know, Buddhism. And that, so you're not going to see like a Christian seeing Buddha, because people are seeing what they're interpreting it according to their knowledge base or their beliefs or whatever. And it's, it's probably a very indescribable feeling, at light and feeling that I'm looking forward to experiencing.
Me too. Exactly.
It's like
And that's actually part of the that book, that contact modalities book, that we were talking about earlier, is that there's something in the brain that's called the left brain interpreter. And Grant talks about this a lot, and it's the part of your brain that, and I do hypnosis. I do like regression hypnosis work, and one of the things, yes, yeah, QHHT, and Dolores Cannon calls the left brain, or she calls that Mr. Stupid, because that's what we experience when we're trying to put someone under, and they're fighting it. So their left brain, or their ego mind, just keep saying like, and you know, and we're trying to put them through the induction or whatever, and we're trying to say, you know, like, imagine the most beautiful thing and on all this stuff, and they're like, I can't see anything, or, you know, we're trying to get them, and they just keep saying like, well, I think I see something, or it's ridiculous what I'm seeing, so I'm not even gonna say it. It's like, no, just go with it. What do you see? And it's like, no, it's impossible. Like, it's like, no, just keep going. So they have this part of them, which is their left brain, which is like constantly arguing, because, and what Grant and how we have in the book is, it's called the left brain interpreter. So it's the part of your brain that, you know, the left brain is the analytical and the logical side of your brain, right? The right side is the creative and the, you know, artistic, and, you know, where your dreams actually come from, where your memories are stored. And, but the left side is the like linguistic side, and the mathematical side, and the analytical side. So, so the left brain interpreter is
the rational mind.
Yes, the rational mind, exactly. The ego mind, and it is constantly trying to tell you, because it's trying to, of course, help you. It is your ego is trying to make sure you're not gonna, you know, step off the curb and get run over by a bus. It's trying to help you pay your bills and go to work every day and make sure you're eating, you know, on time, or eating once in a while, and it's trying to help navigate through this life. But what there is in the left brain is called the left brain interpreter, which is constantly trying to make sense of reality. So every single time you, like in the induction phase, when we're saying like, what are you seeing? The person's left brain interpreter keeps getting in the way. They are seeing something, but the left brain is going like, what are you, nuts? You're not seeing a spaceship. Like what, you know, because so the person is seeing something, but the interpreter is trying to rationalize and make sense of what they're seeing. And it lies to you because it's making up reality to make sure that you're calm and you understand what's going on and everything is explainable. So that's like the part, like, so that's what we all have. The left brain interpreter, it's constantly trying to keep you on track and make sure that you don't think you're going crazy,
Yeah.
and actually lose your mind. So if it sees a UFO and you don't believe in UFOs, it's going to go, oh, well, that must just obviously be something weird. It's a light in the sky. It's obviously a plane that we just don't know about. And then it just cancels it out, right? So
Yeah.
it's the skeptical part of what a lot of people just dismiss when they see something that's a paranormal or an anomaly. Their left brain interpreter just jumps in and just goes, well, you know, well, obviously that's not true. I don't believe in that. So just like, forget about it.
And what it does is like, because that moment is gone, right? You see the UFO and then later, hours have passed, then it's telling you, oh, you remember that wrong. What you thought you saw isn't what you thought you saw. So then even after the fact, it's trying to talk you out of it, right? And that's
absolutely
then because it's not happening at that moment. Now it's a memory. So it can be very convincing when it's a memory. It's just a false memory, right?
Yeah, especially because we have so many false memories, you know, all those things when there's classes and they make the assailant come through the classroom and then tell everyone what was he wearing, you know, those psychological experiments, and everyone's just like red pants, blue pants, yellow pants. It's like no one remembers the same thing and no one's
That's
memory.
the Mandela effect.
Yeah, exactly. We all experience something different. Yeah, so it's very hard to convince a lot of people who do not believe in stuff like this that it is happening, because if you've never had the experience, you don't believe it, whether it's because you have the set belief system, or whether because your left brain interpreter is constantly not allowing you to go there if you even have seen something, because you don't feel comfortable going there. But for the people that have had these experiences, and that's why I help Grant and we interview experiencers and talk to them all the time at these conferences, because if you've had the experience, it doesn't matter if it's, you know, seeing a ghost in your room, or I don't know, you know, like seeing an ET or having an abduction or channeling a message or anything. These things are, if you've had the experience, you know that it's true. Or that dream that we were just talking about. If you've had the experience, you know that it's true. You know that it's something different than your normal reality, because you live reality 24 hours a day. So when something strange happens, you know that this was something that is not normal. And the more you focus, the more the people that believe in this, so these experiencers focus and keep getting obsessed with the topic and trying to research and find other people who have had similar experiences and who won't let it go. You have to think that those are times of your life that are very important, that are trying to drag you down to some different direction. And it's because something big happened that is unexplainable, and either your left brain, and we're not letting our left brain interpreter jump in and say, you didn't really see that. We're going with it and trying to figure out if other people, because once you've had the experience and you see that there's thousands and hundreds of thousands of other people that have had the same experience, then what is it? Then is it that your brain is just trying to tell the other people that they didn't see it, and that's why they don't believe? And we're fighting against the left brain interpreter and realizing that we know what happened. It's a personal experience. We're 100% sure that this actually happened, and we're trying to trust in ourselves and trying to research, because we know other people have experienced similar strange things, even if they're not similar things, other strange things. So you kind of know that anything's possible, because you've heard 100 million stories about people talking about all sorts of crazy things. But once you start having those experiences yourself, you realize that there's something to this reality that we don't know about, and your left brain can just keep trying to shut that down and tell you that it's not true what you just saw. You're crazy.
Yeah. And it's important to to not put it down, to thank it for its job, and say, okay, this is your job, but this part here is not your job. Like you can you go here, but thanks for taking care of me in all these ways, keeping me safe and all that other stuff. But then because some people, like they knock it, they knock the left brain so much, or people say get out of the brain and into the heart and all that. Well, we need all our body parts, right? So it's not condemning one, it's a matter of giving voice to ones that have been suppressed in us, which is the right brain in us right now, right? So
totally.
What's interesting about Dolores Cannon too is that when she was doing all this hypnotherapy, she was going to like different places that people didn't even know each other, and they were all saying the same things about like being volunteers for this time and all this stuff. And it's like, and these people that don't even know about any of that were saying stuff like that, right? So that, you know, it's actually the scientific method, because the scientific method is when the same results keep coming up, right? So
especially in those original days when she was doing it, which was like at least 60 years ago when she was doing it, right? Or it was 50 to 60 years ago, when they're obviously far beyond when there was internet or books about regression, because
yes.
even when she started doing it, she was regressing people to stop smoking and to lose weight. She
Yeah.
didn't even believe in any of this. So it was only when she started getting multiple people, and she had people coming from all over the world, and there was no books being published, and there was no internet. So there was no way that people from different cultures, backgrounds, and countries overseas coming to see her were all saying that they were on a space, or, you know, whatever it is. But like most, you know, there's a whole book, The Custodians, where it was all stories and accounts of people that were on spaceships that saw aliens and that were, you know, doing this kind of thing or whatever. So it is a scientific method. And also what you were saying, Dolores Cannon, the part about Mr. Stupid, about like appeasing or not trying to, in a negative way, get rid of the Mr. Stupid, which is the Lepre Interpreter. Like the way that we learned to do it is we would literally say, when that thing keeps coming up, like when the person keeps going, oh, I can't be seeing this, or this is crazy, oh, there's no way I'm seeing this. We're supposed to be saying like, you know, just the left brain. We're trying to say, it's okay for you to be here. You know, we're trying to act like very motherly to it. We're trying to say it's okay if you could be here, but you need to sit and what Dolores said is go have a cup of tea. Stand by the sidelines, just relax, chill out, sit. You can watch us. You can't interfere, but you can watch us and hang out here and just be quiet and just like relax. Read a book, have a cup of tea, and watch what's going on, because you have to kind of like remove it in a positive way. And exactly, you're right. Like we couldn't live without the left brain, absolutely. And so we have to work with it. But really, it's important to realize what it's doing, because what it's doing is its job, trying to make sure that we feel comfortable and confident and like supported in this world, that there is rules, there is gravity. If I jump off the roof of my house, I am going to probably break something. Like you have to, there has to be a logical structure. We have to rely on the structure of reality, what's happening behind us. So it is doing a huge job. We would never be able to live without it. But at the same time, you have to see how the interference can be coming from it as well.
And it's probably also basing it on experience. So therefore, like if we said something maybe as a child or you know, as a young adult or something, and then it was poo-pooed and shut down to such a degree that we were devastated, then it's trying to protect you from that, right? So it's going, oh no, it's happening to you again. We better protect you because we don't want you to go through that, you know, you being put down and negated and all that. And so it's kind of, you know, just like the subconscious is, you know, protecting us from the experiences that we had. And you kind of go like, okay, I'm okay now. You don't have to protect me from that anymore.
Exactly.
Walls around me that I don't want, you know.
It's good when you're young, but you don't necessarily need it with you your whole life. Once you,
the protection of that, right? So
yeah.
Do you have time for one more topic?
Sure.
Okay, and that is the battle in 3D, the battle between good and evil, and I think it's really happening now. And it's that book was published in 2020, I see. So when exactly did you publish it?
Like January, the first couple of days of January.
As you say, like events in your world are unraveling to shake things up.
Oh, maybe I don't even remember that one.
Yeah,
this was all written 2 years before, so this was all written in 2018. Yeah, I had a hold for a year, and then it should have come out in December, but came out in January. So these are all from 2018. Yeah.
Right. And then, so this is interesting. It says evil is a necessary part of 3D structure because you must see the dark to choose the light. And this is because this is what's happening in our 3D world right now. It seems to be that the battle between the good and evil seems to be coming to the forefront more so than ever before.
Yeah, I don't know that I remember that specific one, but there's been similar things about that because because that's always there's a big topic with other people, you know, experiencers in the UFO community where we're trying to see, you know, focus on the positive all the time, and then a lot of people don't maybe believe that there is a dark side or a negative side or bad things that are happening as well. And so I actually asked for that message. Like I asked, I was thinking or asking about stuff like that. And that's why that specific message came, but I can't really remember it. But I know the base behind all those kind of messages is that, you know, anything that there is, well, exactly like you said, we have to experience everything. You always have to like be presented with something for you to then choose inside yourself if you want to go with that, if you want to change your ideas and your belief system or whatever, and start shifting yourself towards, you know, a more positive way of looking at it. But you do obviously need to keep, you know, keep seeing that there's something that you don't want. And I think Esther Hicks and Abraham always says things like that, right? You need, I can't remember what she says, but something like you need to have those things come so you can launch your rockets.
And it's clarity through contrast. She calls it, when you see what you don't want, then it gives you clarity, because the contrast of what you don't want, plus the clarity through contrast. Is that the one you're thinking of? So
yeah, exactly.
Since something, say you're in a relationship and you go like, this is not the kind of relationship that I want. So you got the clarity from having what you don't.
And then, and for me, for my feeling of this message is seeing that, but also then you know what you want. So it's like constantly if you want to say like, you know, not like negative and positive or like bad, good, but it's something like you want to see what it is because you want to face the light. I think that's part of that message, is something about constantly turning and facing the light. So it's like, and that's the like thing that I got, where it's like a, you know, like a thing, like you are faced with this, you go this way. You're faced with this, you go this way. And you're constantly trying to move yourself in the physical direction of only following positive things that you want to come out in your life, because you're, you know, being confronted with the dark, but then you're putting your back to it kind of, and choosing to go with the light. So that's just like that's like a choice that you're making inside yourself, like a moral or ethical choice or whatever, that you do not, you know, you're picking sides kind of. Maybe that's like wrong to say, but it's kind of like you're constantly picking sides. Like, what kind of person do you want to be? What kind of life do you want to have? You see this and no, I want this. So yeah, exactly. Like she's saying, like a clarity, you're constantly getting clarity, and but you're constantly
Evaluating or
reevaluating, or like reforming your actual self and your mind, your consciousness. You're constantly deciding which side you want to be on, and going for, and not like it's like only two sides and not like that, but I mean, you're constantly shifting your focus and aligning yourself with the person that you want to be, the experience that you want to have, the other people that you want to pull into your life or whatever.
Yeah.
So it kind of seems like it's a battle of good and evil. And a lot of people constantly say that. And of course it could be, you know, the actual battles that they have. It could be the ET battles that some people think it's two different sides. You know, the good people, the good aliens that are coming to try helping us from the bad ones, or the, you know, in the biblical sense, it could be the angels that are fighting the demons. There's so many different, and again, are those all interpretations of the same thing that we're thinking about? Because if this is a hologram, if we're just perceiving and projecting out, then all these struggles are just really happening inside of ourself, and we're it's all just like, it seems like it's happening in this like 360-degree amphitheater or something, but I think all these little struggles are just like little tiny bits of like, you know, not that but this, not that but this, but it's all happening inside you, because you're the one that's projecting the reality out there anyways. So it is all those things. It's just a different way to interpret it, is again based on these different depending on what you believe, different belief systems.
Right. And some people are saying like, it's, you know, what's all happening now with everything coming up, that it's actually our own shadow that we need to deal with, you know, that's what's actually being exposed, because everything is happening within, you know. So, because, you know, even with me, like I used to be one of those spiritual people who used to think like, I can't look at anything, you know, negative, because I'm going to feed it with my energy. Like that's a philosophy or whatever that's out there now. But then when all of this, that whole thing changed for me, like in 2020, when I thought, something is in my face here that I have to look at. I can't just go, I'm not going to look at this because I'm feeding it with my energy. We can do, and actually what it says here is, they cannot hurt you if you refuse to let them. Give them no energy. So there's a difference between giving something energy and you know, feeding it or believing in it, and actually looking at it, right? Because you can look at something and see it without giving it energy, or not giving it energy, but making it real. You know, this whole thing about you make it real by looking at it, that kind of thing, right? So there's like this confusion there, because it's like, well, because again, it's that clarity through contrast, right? You can look at something that's happening and go, okay, this is not my preference. And because basically we are in charge of our own vibration, right? And so we can, whatever it says in here as well, this whole thing about you, I think I might have it right at the end here, but it's so well put. I don't have the exact words wherever they are, but that whole thing about our pattern, that our pattern of energy and vibration is actually putting us in an environment that matches that pattern and vibration somehow, like that, right? So
well, and those two things for sure, exactly like you were saying. But I think those are from, or in my head anyways, those are from two different messages. So I know the one you're talking about. And I've had many discussions with people and possibly arguments with people who, because I like to research the whole field. So I research things, and I had an argument with someone once because we were talking about Aleister Crowley. And
yeah.
I was saying, like, he's this like person that was doing all these things from, like, so long ago, from the 1880s. And so we have to kind of look at what kind of things, what beings he was, and same with John Dee. I was like, for a year or two, a couple of years ago, I was like fascinated with like, and Madame Blavatsky and all these people, Alice Bailey. So you think that I thought, looking into the past, trying to see exactly what they were doing, trying to connect what kind of things they were doing, what kind of information they were getting back, is giving me a broader picture of exactly out of the whole, of everything else that I'm reading now. Because these people were doing it in the 1500s, John Dee, right? So if someone's doing the same thing, trying to make a ritual, trying to create something to talk to his guardian angel, that's what he was trying to do. But they were doing it kind of in like Ouija board ways, with his sigils and like making his big magic table and everything. They were trying to do, and scrying, which is the same thing as channeling. So it's like they're doing the same thing. And this is from 1550. So shouldn't we be looking at, and then Aleister Crowley in the 1880s or whatever, around there. So it's like trying to do the same thing, trying to do rituals, trying to make sure that he's binding demons to make sure he can connect with his angel. And so I was looking at all these things, and I did get an argument with someone who was saying, you shouldn't ever be putting your attention onto someone like Aleister Crowley, because it's a negative, you're bringing that negativity in. And I agree with that, because I think it's not just perspective, it's history, it's someone who is in the same field that we are, that's doing the same thing that we're doing, and it's his accounts of what exactly he was doing. So it doesn't matter what kind of person anyone is, it matters the work that they did and the understanding that they got from it, for me to tie it to bits of my own personal puzzle. But so definitely I get that part of the community. Some people don't think that you should go there if it's any kind of dark subject, but I don't know if I agree with that. But I know the message that you're saying is because I got that message because I actually had an encounter one night in when I was waking up or whatever, and I was actually traveling to Mount Shasta. It was the same year I was traveling to 2017 to go to Mount Shasta with Grant, and I had a thing where I was being like, there was the black shadowed thing strangling me, sitting on me when I was sleeping. And I can't even I would have to read the message again. I can't really remember, but I remember I was in a hotel room in Reno, Nevada, in this beautiful hotel room, like an amazing place. But I woke up and I was paralyzed. The thing was sitting on me, strangling me, like that whole thing. And that's the message I got from it, is the light always wins. So it was so I was saying, like, should I not be I was getting scared that I shouldn't be channeling, because I was saying, did I invite this negative thing? Because I was channeling every single night. That was before the eclipse, and I have a whole bunch of stuff about the eclipse, and that's when they were saying, you were called here, you think you want to go watch the eclipse, the solar eclipse in Oregon, but you're supposed to be here, you have to bury these crystals, and it said all this stuff. And so I was getting worried that this being came and was like trying to kill me, because I thought I let it in, because I was too open, because I wasn't protecting myself enough, because of the blah, 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 because of the channeling. So I asked, like, I was concerned, and I asked, and the message that is just like, don't don't pay attention to the dark. So that was like a little bit different than like not to direct your energy on the dark. It was just
Right.
saying the light always wins. So
Yeah.
don't worry. You don't have to fear this thing. Know
Yeah.
that there is these beings or entities that are maybe trying to knock you off your path. And these things are definitely true and are real. And that's an experience you now have of it. So you know that it's real, but it'll never win. So you don't have to like get all scared and stop doing everything
Right.
because you're scared that this attack is going to happen again, because you focus on the light and don't pay attention to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I think that that wisdom also applies to the current situation as well, because it's like we, you know, we are refusing to give our power to these dark forces, right? That are, you know, they have been running the world for a long time, or in many different ways. You know, humans have been controlled and all that. And it's like, so humanity had to see it. It had to come up, so that they had to see it so that they could negate it, right?
Yes.
Because you're being blindly enslaved, you know. And so if you don't know you're a slave, how can you free yourself, right? So it is it does seem, oh, and you know what too, oh, this was so beautiful. So there's so much poetic stuff. I really recommend this book, but it's Be the Magician Instead of the Slave.
Uh, well, you're right. That is, yeah. And I would say for now in these days, that's it. It's a crazy year in 2020. I'm sure, you know, astrologically was always supposed to play out like this. So this is like no big surprise to a lot of people, but that's my hope, at least, is what's happening is the scam, like the gig is up, right? Like everyone is starting to see people who were never conspiracy theorists or never believed that, you know, were never interested, never had time to look into these kind of things. I think that as time is progressing and this whole year is, you know, coming to a close here, I think that a lot of people are, and that's why they call it the Great Awakening, or, you know, like the shift, or, you know, there's a million different words for what could potentially be happening right now, which is that people are waking up to their spirituality, waking up to the realization that they don't need to be working, killing themselves, working to get more money so they could just keep buying, you know, material possessions, that people can live on less, that people should be helping their neighbors more, people should be like spending more time with their families. Like, you know, there's a million different lessons that could and hopefully were learned by some people. Of course, you know, again, there's many people, thankfully not as many in Canada as in the States, but many people that are not even able to be in the position that we are, that actually lost everything. And the suicide rate, and we talked about all this stuff, is like a horrible things are happening right now. But you hope that for some of the people that did survive this, hopefully there's an awakening in each individual person's consciousness where they, you know, have a different trajectory for the rest of their lives, and they've decided that they have a new path that they don't, you know, that they wouldn't have had if all of this trauma and tragedy didn't happen. So hopefully this is like kind of waking people up. And the enslavement stuff, yeah, of course, you know, and I'm a big conspiracy theorist, and I do believe all that kind of stuff. So I absolutely think, like, you know, that would be a whole nother 5 hours. But we'll just say that, yes, this small little shifts and small little awakenings that people are having because of the lockdown, because of the job loss, because of what, you know, everything that's happening. Hopefully everyone's shifted. And that's why my messages, I get so many things called the shift, and I never had any idea what they were really talking about. I didn't actually think that something crazy like this would be happening, even though I knew 2020 was going to be astrologically, and, you know, they set everything out, but you can't really imagine. And 2020 always sounded like such a, it sounded like Blade Runner, like we're never going to actually get to 2020. It's not going to, like pandemic, there's not actually going to be something like that in my life. So it's now that it's happened, even though we knew that something crazy was going to happen, and now that we're getting hopefully towards the end of it, looking back, I see in almost every single person I know, everyone has shifted a bit. And yes, some people are not, you know, making their way through it very gracefully in the way that they're not seeing the positive parts of it. A lot of people still are held in fear and think that this is not going to be, like, you know, that the outcome is not going to be positive, but hopefully, in my perspective, hopefully I think that things are going to get better. I think that the majority of people are going to get better. I think this is leading us into a better place. And I think just like how we've been talking about this whole show now, looking at the dark and choosing the light, or like being confronted with the negative and choosing the positive, I think that's what we need to do now. And I think that's the whole point of this lockdown. And that is the messages I got with this actual lockdown this year, is that, this needed to happen. This happens all the time with humanity. This is not a new thing. This is like natural, like evolution kind of thing. This is what happens, and it's natural splits between people. So not just so you can see what you don't want and turn to what you do want, but it's like it's an evolution. This is our consciousness evolution, where we're all choosing, and I hate to say choosing sides again, because I know that could be interpreted in this day and age as something crazy, but I'm just saying you can see what you want and say, I don't want that, I want this. And it's always that. And that's like, no matter what is happening, but it is so obvious now. It could not be more obvious now. And unfortunately, that's the struggles and the conflict with everyone between people, is the people that are very obvious on two different sides of this year in a million different ways. But the beauty in that is that it is so obvious that it should be easy for the people that never realized that they had the power to be figuring out what kind of path they wanted to be. They wanted to direct themselves on and go to the path that they wanted. People that were just unconsciously like living through every day and just like working and sleeping and eating, and like not realizing that you have conscious choice. You are the magician. You are not the slave. You can do whatever you want. You need to empower yourself, take control, realize that you want something better. You don't want this, you want this, and go for the whatever it is you want. Live your own truth or whatever. But I mean, like, realize what you want and realize that you have the power. We are all our own magicians. If this is the holographic universe and we are projecting reality, it's like there isn't even anything out there except for us. And they say that to me all the time. It's just like, you are the only thing. So you have to, like, this is all personal, individual lessons that we need to learn, because it's only us. It's us and trying to figure out how we want to end our lives when we're not here anymore, how we want to review our life and see where we've been and where we've come to or whatever, as a process of some kind of evolution. And so the end result is going to be all the ways you decided to live. And we all have the power to choose the best case scenario that we could possibly choose for ourselves and our families, and try and bring everyone with us to like a better place.
Yeah. That is so beautiful. And it's like, we are so powerful. Like, we are spiritual beings. And that's the thing, it says in the book was channeled that, that we are here to help people remember who they are. Because if you remember who you are and you get really in touch with that spiritual nature of who you are, like, we're invincible. Like, whatever is happening, we can easily choose the way we want to go. And also we can enjoy this process, because it is actually a lot of fun, because we're here, we're having this experience, we're playing that we're human on earth, and all the stuff. And now we've got some really good stuff going on that we can we can play with our light, So
Absolutely.
Wonderful. It's been, I'm so happy to have met you.
Me too.
Live in my town. Talk more.
Absolutely.
Thanks again for coming.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. And we'll see you soon, okay?
Okay, for sure. We'll keep in contact.
Yeah. Okay,
Thanks,
bye.
Steve. Okay,
Thanks,
bye.
everyone.